Macho Man Randy Savage.
Dude, Jake the Snake has the best Macho Man impression you've ever heard. Did you see that interview on Rogan?
No. Yeah.
Second to none. It's hilarious. Welcome to another episode of Don Draper's Den. On this podcast, we discuss branding and marketing, how it touches so many aspects of our lives. We also talk a bunch of trash about music and food and culture and each other and nostalgia and so much more. We hope that you're entertained. We hope you can get some insight from two marketing insiders such as ourselves. I'm Chris. And this is Ernie. And in this episode, we got kind of deep at the end. We got into
we did.
My obsession with 80's propaganda movies.
Nostalgia.
But we got into archetypes and discovering oneself.
Yeah, discovering the importance of discovering your identity as a company and even on a personal level.
Yeah, and how that kind of propels you forward into the world. So hopefully it serves to inspire, but nonetheless, we want to hope you share and you subscribe and you comment and you help spread the word in this thing. We want to blow it up as much as possible. We appreciate the support. Without further ado, pour yourself a glass and let's get into this.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. All right. So,
so what?
Isn't the weather lovely?
Oh yeah. So nice to finally have sun.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it feels good to walk outside. We're not miserable the second you go outside, right? It's like a notable difference. It was last week. It was the first time I looked up, there was a blue sky. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and I don't know if I heard the birds chirping for real, but like I felt they were chirping in my soul. You know what I mean?
Chirping.
So then
I'm finally like motivated to do stuff.
Yeah. Like
now that everything's thawed out and I see all the trash in our yard that the wind's blown into our yard, is like I'm ready to clean things up. I'm ready. Yeah, it's been good.
That feels so good, man. So we talked about spring cleaning last time.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm still in it right now. I'm going to clean out my truck. And I've been looking at envy at other trucks, like, because they have cool things, but I don't really know the name. I'm not like some gearhead. I don't know anything about cars. I'm not that guy. Right.
What are you talking about?
Well, like, all right. So, for example, like the little steps that go along the side of the truck.
Yeah.
Right now,
you definitely need that, dude. Especially for people like us,
bro. I didn't. You know what? I've really appreciated it. My kids, because they're kids, of course, they're climbing, and they climb into a regular car, right?
Right.
So that doesn't. But when Olivia was still here, and I think we went out for some pizza or something. But for whatever reason, she found herself hopping into the back of the truck.
Yeah.
I'm so used to her. I was so used to her size. You know what I mean? And I was like, damn, she really hopped in.
Yeah.
Like it was a bit of a thing. You know. So I was like, I got to get some steps. So anyway, so they're the rails.
Yeah,
what are
the
they
rails.
Called?
It reminds me of the Kevin Hart skit where he's like, he's talking about riding his truck. He's like, I'm talking about you, girl. You know you. And then he's like, hold on now. And he like somersaults out of his truck, buckles his knees.
You need like a rope ladder to get down.
Right.
It's not very cool. And I knew a guy, I think his name was Chuck, growing up in Jackson, New Jersey. Shout out. I hope he's doing well with himself, but he was smaller than I was, right? He was a little dude, and he had the biggest pickup truck you'd ever seen, bro. And this is like back in the 90s when it was a truck, it was a man's truck, but I remember it was all white, had the lights, the whole getup.
Yeah,
it was a really cool looking truck. But then it pulls up in a small driveway, so it looks even bigger. I remember, and that's how I was introduced to him. Like, hey, Chuck's here. I'm like, oh shit, Chuck's a big deal. All right, and then he got out, and I was like, this doesn't add up.
Yeah,
that's a little guy. So
it reminds me of have you ever seen that reel on Instagram with that influencer? He's like a dwarf, but he has this cool like souped up white pickup truck.
Really?
Yeah, and he shows how he has to get in. He has like a step stool that he pulls out from behind his seat. He steps up and hops in. Yeah, and then he modified his like where his gas pedals and stuff like that, so he could be able to.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got like little blocks, cool. Like Short Round from Indiana Jones. Yeah. That's another thing too, man, because I can't even see over the hood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I think it was Taco Tuesday with Brenton, And I pick him up from the gym. I think it was the first ride in the truck. And, checking it out and stuff. I'm feeling good about it, right? But then he noticed that the front edge of my seat was as far forward as it could possibly get, so that I can boost myself, so I can see over the front. Right? Yeah. And even then, it's not good enough. I need like a couple more inches. So
I shouldn't really be laughing because like Hannah, you know how you ever see those videos where like, this is what it's like getting into the car after your wife has driven it, and the guy is like, his knees are up to his chest.
Right.
No, it's the opposite for us. So to try to avoid that humiliation for me, like after I get out of her truck, I try to remember to like scoot it back.
Yeah. That's funny.
Or it'll be a constant reminder of her having to like, okay, how do I drive my truck?
Well, all right. So here's the other thing too, right? Because it's like you ever see the videos where like two people will sit down and they're the same height, or perhaps even. Right. But then they stand up and then it switches as they stand up.
Okay.
Right. If you've ever seen that, it's weird. Right. But it's much more severe. Like, if you have a woman with like higher hips, naturally she's going to have long legs. Yeah. Right. So, it might belie kind of what's going on in the car. Yeah. Right. Anyways, back to the pickup truck. And in that moment, because Brenton's like, what, 6'1", 6'1", like that. And he just, he let it go. You know what I mean? Because he's my homie like that. Yeah. He didn't burn me too hard. But like the observation was a burn enough. He's like, oh, you really got that seat all the way up. And he just kind of carried on. But I was like, you motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, all right. But then I told him also, I've been looking for a seat. So I tell Shannon.
What are you talking about, a seat?
A new driver's seat. Right? Oh. In my pickup.
I was thinking you're thinking like one of those booster chairs.
Bro, so I sit there and I look at Shannon, I was like, oh man, I can't see over it. I gotta figure this out. I'm like, let me, go online and I'm sure I could just hit like I don't know, like some kind of a junkyard type vibe online or something. I'll just go find me a pickup truck seat. No big deal. Dude, they're like $4,000 or some crap for like a nice new one, right? But even still, for like a regular, and then to put it in, I guess I didn't really appreciate that there's probably sensors in it and airbag
probably
and
a lot of
more to it, right? So I'm just stuck. And then Shannon was innocently enough, she's like, you just get a little, like a cushion. I was like, there's no way, dude.
No,
there's
don't do that.
No way. God forbid.
Friend of yours who sits in. Oh, dude, I'd rip on you, and we're like the same height.
I don't need this. I have enough problems in my life. That's all I need. Get out, open my door at the gym. I guarantee there'd be a bunch of dudes out there just waiting to see the booster seat or whatever.
Yes.
No. So, anyways, I'd rather crash.
Yeah. Well, Hannah has some really cool like side step things that you call it in her truck. Or when we open the door, it automatically like shoots out. Yeah, it's really cool. And then
that's why you live on an estate, bro.
It goes whatever, dude. It goes back. It retracts back.
Yeah,
in.
It does. Yeah, it does. Plays a nice little song or something. Give you a back massage on the way in.
Cool down seats.
Get the fuck out, dude. This is too much.
She has a good setup.
Wow. Well,
now but she's somebody who likes vehicles. She loves cars. She has her own Jeep. She just bought a whole sound system for her Jeep.
That's next on the menu.
Where me, it's like, again, point A to point B. The only thing better than a car outside of like my motorcycle, but like is if I could find they create a teleportation device or like a car that just drives itself, which is on the horizon.
It's on the horizon. Yeah. Not a 78, Corvette. Nothing sticks out for you.
I literally only get that if I get one of those cars, I'd get it simply just to say I have it.
Yeah. But other than that, just to own it. I don't know.
I don't care for the fix up. Like I don't mind doing construction work. I don't mind building the shed. I don't mind doing drywall, that kind of stuff. But the whole grease monkey thing and trying to fix your car and your tools don't quite fit and your hands is like pinching against some metal piece and you're like
it's cold out.
It's cold out and I just don't. I tried to get into it. But I don't.
Yeah, I don't want any, but that part. But I suppose it really would be I can get the car and then I can pay somebody to maintain the thing. Right. That's really the point. I don't even know what it would be, man, because I mean, you know, I'm getting older. Like, it's gonna be much more expensive. Yeah. So the
the caveat is, like, if I had all this money and money was no object, and sure, I'd get a Corvette. I'd get you know.
Is that like ultimate tough guy move, like a yellow Corvette, like a Stingray or something? Like
I wouldn't say yellow, but I would get like a Corvette, American made, really a muscle car, something that's fast.
Let's go.
Right. Yeah. But that's different because that's not even a car anymore. That's like a luxury status symbol. I've arrived.
This is it.
But anything below that, I don't know, whatever. It's whatever's functional. I'd like to get a truck if I need to go and haul hay. Right. I'd like to get, you know, I have my car right now, which is simply for high gas mileage.
Yeah. And it's big enough where if shit really hits the fan for you, you can live in it. Go to your minimalist little cave on wheels. Yeah, 1977 Corvette, silver and red, from the movie The Wraith that the bad guy was driving.
I thought you were going to say Cobra from that Sylvester Stallone movie.
That was a cool one. I think it was like a Studebaker or some random kind of thing, but that was cool. Yeah, and it had the matte finish. It was like kind of an olive green. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's such a great movie and a terrible movie at the same time. I tried to watch that 6 months ago.
It was just bad.
It's so bad.
It's bad.
So bad. But he has nice gloves. I like he's got cool leather gloves, cool jacket, so I'll take his fashion sense. But I don't know, man. They're terrible. Yeah, there's a ton of free movies on YouTube, man. So I've been doing like the 80's. It's all propaganda movies. I don't know what it is. It just feels very American.
Oh, but I love
Soviet era, right? Hollywood is.
It's always like U.S. versus Russia during the Cold War.
Always.
Oh yeah.
And dude, the thing I mention it as a matter of fact while watching it with Shannon, right? And you know that's her jam, right? Like she doesn't know movies until it's like some real shitty action 80's or early 90's movie. She's like, oh, I've seen this a million times, right? Never The Big Lebowski, Scarface, nothing, right? Godfather, who knows? But like some random thing with like a B-level actor, she's all over it. So anyways, we're watching these things, and I'm like calling out the propaganda.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just so obvious.
Oh, yeah.
Red Dawn,
Red October.
Oh man!
All the what do you call it? The not Rambo. What was
yeah, Commando.
Commando.
There's so many.
Yeah,
there's so many, and they all have the same Russian actor. It's like the one guy was getting all the work in the 80's. But yeah, man, the propaganda is just so thick, man. And I really wonder, I'd love to know, right? I'm not mad at it.
Miracle on Ice, but that was based on a true story. Have you ever watched Miracle on Ice?
That's with Kurt Russell, right?
Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
When we beat the Russians during the Cold War in the Olympics.
Very strong.
Dude, every once in a while I play the final scenes of that.
Yeah.
I just love it. I just get goosebumps.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
It works.
We could play these guys 10 times and we could lose all 9. But we just have to beat them once.
Boom.
Yep.
Today's
go. The day.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, nothing, we've talked about it before. Nothing gets me like glory. Like that campfire scene for if I'm really having a rough day and I need something, look no further, bro. It's
glory?
like that YouTube channel, that video with Morgan Freeman. That's like inspiration in a bottle.
Yes,
I
love it. Yeah. Left, right, little fingers around the seams of your trousers. Marching's all I'll ever do.
So amazing, bro. So amazing.
Love it.
Yeah. So
collard greens, they're waiting on me.
I can't.
Who's that actor? Do you know?
No.
That was Denzel Washington.
Was that? Yeah.
He was in the. He was in the tent, and he was trying to convince everybody to go to some house
before they
whipped. They caught him when they whipped him.
Yep. Yeah. And then you see his back, and you're like, Jesus Christ, not the first time. And
shoes, sir.
That's rough.
The kid was getting shoes.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. That's a heavy movie.
Man, I love it.
Yeah. Oh man, around that time too. The Color Purple.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we're going back to the late '80s real quick on that, but man, that's.
But it wasn't Top Gun. Top Gun, the original one. They fought Russia in that, wasn't it? I want to say it was Russia, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think
like
so.
I have
visually.
I have like and I don't think it is.
No. Because I think I remember the.
But then
enemy.
obviously the Rocky.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Drago. That was
my God.
Yeah.
That's just the height of it.
That was the height of it.
Jesus. Like there's no way there wasn't CIA or FBI or like NSA or whatever kind of money, right? Like old Sly. Again, I'm not mad at it.
No.
But like.
See, I think that every American citizen or part of the citizenship test, there's like 5 movies you have to watch. I go back to that list, dude. I'm telling you. You want to become an American citizen? Yeah. Okay. You got to watch Rocky 4. You know?
With that.
You have to watch, let's see.
Shitty American.
Red October.
Red October's a good one. Hunt for Red October.
There's some things you got to watch that capture the essence of America.
Yeah.
And of course, gives us big heads and why every other country probably hates us because we come across very arrogant. But
it's all about us.
You know what?
I wonder that too, man, because I guess I see it out of China with, where is it? Maybe in certain, probably like animated movies, right? Because then you see a stronger, notable sense of nationalism and national pride from China, which is nothing new at all, right? I mean, it's
but every country does this. Every country, like, of course, you're gonna create movies or entertainment
where you guys are the winners,
right?
Yeah, I mean, but not necessarily so, man. Like certain Scandinavian countries, like it's kind of part of the culture. They're not putting themselves down per se. It's just that they're not keen to like big up themselves. Right.
Yeah.
It's not.
I wouldn't know, but I'll take
your
word for it. Yeah.
But when it comes to China and Russia and America and a handful
you're talking
others,
about like Finland and Netherlands. And
and the Swedish or areas around there. I hear that like
Switzerland
when they get awards, it's not common. They're like very modestly. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, see you later, and off they go.
Which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And why I think. In a lot of those countries, they like measure the stress levels of like which countries are the most stressed out, and like a lot of those countries, their stress levels are lower.
Yeah,
because they just
education levels are higher.
Higher, they have just a different. Like I think healthcare is provided, and they have a number of things
more
that
socialist,
really support.
Right, but here's another thing though, the reality. And so I've heard this on more the academic side, is like first of all. It's a homogeneous, little world over there, right? So you're talking like everybody's Swedish, bro. They're all tall, So there's a certain interconnectivity that's built in. Then they're tiny countries, right? Like in population. I mean, you're talking about some of our states like dwarf the size of their country.
Oh yeah,
right. So then it's kind of like, oh well, such and such just got it together. Yeah, but they're only managing 25 million people. Yeah. It's an easier ask. Yeah. Right? So, they can kind of agree and we're all on the same page and, hey, everybody gets free healthcare. There's a black metal band. I can't remember if I talked about it before. That starts with a B. I forget it now. They're legendary. Anyways, but they got some of their studio space, their equipment from the government. They pay like 65% in taxes. But they got free healthcare, they have free education. Oh, yeah. If you're starting a business, they'll help you out. Like, pretty cool. Yep. It's pretty cool.
Do you ever watch interview of Conan O'Brien when he interviewed Flula Borg? Do you know who Flula Borg is?
I have no idea.
Look Flula Borg up. He's hilarious.
I have no idea.
He's like a actor / comedian, and he's German. But he's so just hilarious, and he's very spastic in his presentation.
Right.
But there was a time when Conan asked him, like, does it ever bother you that, like, in American movies, Germans are always the bad guys? And in his German accent, he's like, no. Have you ever Wikipedia'd German history?
Damn.
And then Conan's like, well, who are the bad guys in German movies? He's like, Germans.
Damn.
He's hilarious.
That's a wild perspective. Yeah,
I love
who are the bad guys in other countries' movies.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Did you ever think about that? Like, how would you feel if...
I know that Frank Grillo, if I'm saying his name right, who's like an MMA actor type of dude. He's been in a bunch of like MMA boxing fighting type movies as a bad guy or whatever. He and the lead, actually, he's been a good guy, but he was a bad guy in a particular Chinese production. Can't remember, but yeah, I had just seen him as the hero.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And in this case, no, he was a baddie. I was like, huh, that's weird. And then we were painted naturally as the bad guys.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just that. Here's the thing about that. In terms of how one could indoctrinate your people, right? Which we're all doing it. Like, it was the subtext, the philosophy of Americanism. You know, it was more to it than just that. There was like a PSA in the movie that no, this is not how you do it. You do these other things that are, I guess, inherently in Chinese culture, right? That let's say you look out for your community first, just as an example.
Yeah.
So in that, it was a little more plain. We're like, oh wow, yeah, you guys are doing it too. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
Yeah, they're doing it too. Right?
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's or I don't know. For a while there, the bad guys were always like Muslims because of all the things that was going on politically and wars and all that.
Oh man, I saw.
I think it's just about. I don't know if it's about propaganda as much as about cultural relevancy. Why would you do? Why would you do a movie? Where we're fighting against the Japanese, let's say, when that's not culturally relevant right now.
Doesn't matter.
We're not in war. You know,
those are homies right now.
Right.
Yeah. If you go, so that puts me in mind of being a young fella, right? So in 1991, I'm 10 years old, and Hot Shots Part 2, and all of that, right? Naked Gun 1, 2, and 2.5, and 33 and a third.
Yeah.
Like all that, like those are the days of like more like American ignorance. How can I say it? We have the capability to be less ignorant now because the world is smaller because of the internet. If I want to know the answer about something and like actually know the answer about it, I can just hit Google and find out and be like, oh, that's the actual history, right? But bro, growing up, for us, no internet.
No
right?
internet.
So we were as ignorant as the sun is hot.
Yeah.
Right. And so to be fed, Saddam Hussein, which I mean, he definitely was not the greatest of them all. But then look what happened when you took the homie out.
Right.
Ooh, you know what I mean? You just let all the snakes out of the box. But anyways, but it's like, yeah, those are the bad guys. And that's kind of all we heard about.
Right.
Like, I don't know anything about, you know what I mean? All the countries were the same. We don't know any better.
At least back then in the 80s, 90s, we had an excuse for why we were ignorant. We don't have any excuse now.
Without education.
We have no excuse now when Americans are just ignorant. There's no excuse. Yeah. Like when two guys are having a podcast laughing about Smash and Slide.
Bro.
Dude, there's no excuse.
It was so...
There's no excuse.
Such a genuine
for that level of ignorancy that came from us. Whatever, dude.
But look, the reporting and observation of a national character of a country versus some dude flipping with his nuts onto a pole.
Yeah.
Two different cans. I'll go to the grave ignorant on that. Fine.
We just come across looking arrogant at that point.
Right.
Whatever.
It's fine. It's fine.
No matter what we do, we'll just look arrogant. Those arrogant Americans.
Can't Bob Marley, right? Can't please all people all the time.
No.
So watching those old movies, it's been that's just been something that like it's just interesting. I really wish I could see old commercials. There was one, I forget what we're watching, but there was one movie we were watching, shoot 'em up action kind of thing, but there was breaks. I guess the video had been lifted from like TV. You know what I mean? And so there were commercial breaks that were black. Right, so just black screen for like 25 seconds. And at first I was like, that's stupid, but it's free. So I'm like, well, I guess. But then I realized like, and there was some editing and they like bleeped a couple of words. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's probably like a TV kind of thing or something. And then I'm like, it'd be kind of cool to see those old commercials, because there's like certain old ones like, where's the beef? And like Dunkin' Donuts. Right, that really, really, really stand
Gotta
out.
make the donuts.
Yeah, right. But like, there's plenty that have just come and gone, right? And I'll never see them again. So it just more in this position,
and I can't get up.
Yes, yeah. My dad's still laughing at that one. Yeah, he wears one. I told you that, right? He wears one of those things.
Oh, he doesn't.
Right. I mean,
my mom refuses to wear one.
Yeah.
I told her like, listen, you're getting up in age. What if Dad's not around? You need to be able to push that button. She's like, no. I won't do it. I'm like, have you not seen that commercial? You know a commercial I'm talking about, Mom.
That's just old school, bro.
She won't do it.
That's just old school. There's no way. Yeah. Yeah. No, the old people. My Uncle Bill, he was like 90-something years old. Dude, they had to pry him out of his house. He's just an old Sicilian. He's seen wars.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not doing that. The nostalgia, and man, does that sell. That freaking sells. Like, how much am I seeing right now what looks like the logo for Hulkamania, right? With like the red fade to yellow, right? And Macho Man and
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Dude, Jake the Snake has the best Macho Man impression you've ever heard. Did you see that interview on Rogan?
No.
Second to none. It's hilarious. He has a great story. Check it out. It's a funny one. But the logo and like the 80s vibe, it's been here for a minute, right? It's nothing new. Yeah. And everybody's got those shades now, the wraparound Macho Man shades and everything.
Some things should just be forgotten.
Let it die.
Just gotta die.
Let it die.
Yeah.
Right? I don't
Snap into a Slim Jim.
I don't need those balloon pants, the parachute pants coming back.
No.
Don't do it, man. But yeah, the nostalgia sells. Is my point, right? So I've been seeing a lot of like commercials and just stuff out there in the ether, bands, right? What else? I've been looking, I ran out of cologne, so I've been looking up like beard kind of dude care, Yeah. Right. And so like every 1 out of 5 or so has like that the Old Spice commercial, it has that kind of vibe, or the Squatch soap. Did you see that Sasquatch soap?
I think I might have.
And yeah, and it's like he's like like some bearded dude, and he's in the woods, and he's like fighting Bigfoot, and and it's just all goofy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But that's like the character of the business, right? But nostalgia is easy, man. I'm a sucker for that stuff. Okay. If I see something that looks like it's all 90s out or 80s out, oh man, I'm buying it. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm looking at a lot of old movies lately. Getting nostalgia with that. I'm enjoying. So here's another thing I do. You ever look at actors and the leading man of a particular movie, and then you realize that you're like older than that guy?
No, I don't play that game,
bro.
I don't really play that game because I just get depressed.
Yeah,
but also I have a like. Mentally, though, I always think I'm younger than I really am. Like my mind hasn't caught up with my body yet. Now my body reminds me how old I am. The fact that hurts. The fact that I watched Dune and it took me like 2.5 weeks to finish that most recent movie.
You kept falling asleep.
Just because I kept falling asleep.
I knew it. I knew it.
Like my body reminds me how old I am, No, I mean Dune was a great. Have you watched it yet? They won a lot of Oscars.
But like the newest.
Yeah, the newest one was so good.
Yeah,
but dude, every single time, like, falling asleep. Damn. Had nothing to do with the movie. It's just me, old age me.
Right.
You know, but my brain, you know, I still think I'm in my 30s. You know, I guess so. I don't look sometimes. At it and say, "Oh, wow, I'm older than them."
Yeah.
No, not really. So, maybe occasionally, you know, I'll look at an athlete and I'll say, like, "Wow, Manny Pacquiao is boxing and he's my age."
Yeah.
Like from that standpoint, like,
yeah, that's pretty.
I mean, now he's retired, but like, it's still amazing. When he was boxing, he was still like in his 40s,
right,
and still winning.
Mm-hmm.
And I could barely, you know, get out of bed without like my knees crackling.
Yeah. When I see certain actors, who comes to mind? Carol, what the hell's his name? Archie Bunker.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name. When I realize how old he is or was when he was the character, he was in his late 40s, early 50s.
Mm-hmm.
It's not quite too far off.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if you replaced his clothes with something more modern, maybe he wouldn't look quite as old.
Mm-hmm.
But he seemed like an old man.
He seemed like an old
You know
guy.
what I mean?
Yeah. Archie. How'd that song go?
Do 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 do.
And then the
no.
do do do
Yeah.
do do do. Yep.
Those were the days.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, even his wife Edith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you realize, like, oh, they're playing it like they're supposed to be in their late 40s or something, or whatever it is, and you're like, dude, if I look like that, I'm messing up, man.
Yeah, right.
I'm messing up bad. And like, and again, back to the 80s, back to those 80s cop and military type movies.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, like, there's always like the leading guy is like the Mel Gibson characters, the cops on the edge, right, and all that kind of thing. But then there's inevitably like the sarge or the chief, you know, who's that side piece, right? And he's usually the one like angry all the time, right? And he's playing that typical role.
Mm-hmm.
And he's looking like he's a little haggard, a little older, right? And then you're like, oh, he's 43. Is that what 43 looked like, man?
Yeah.
What were you guys doing? What were we doing?
I never thought about it that much.
Yeah, man.
But that is interesting. I wonder how old Red Fox was when he was on TV.
Not that old, bro. Here's a funny one.
He looked old.
He looked old. Proper.
You don't think he was that old?
Because he was joking around with a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
This is the big one. Here's a really weird one. Watch House Party. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite movies, by the way. Mm-hmm. House Party 1, 2, and even 3. Why not? But House Party 1 was it, right? The guy, do you remember that?
I've fairly well watched House Party.
Shut your goddamn... What?
No, it's not on the list of citizens.
What? What do you mean? Bro.
Who stars in it?
What? Kid and Play, man.
What?
With the famous foot with the dance?
I do know who Kid and Play is, but no, I've never watched it.
I don't even know what to think, man. How did you get through?
Dude.
Damn. Anyways.
Was that on BET?
There wasn't even BET back then. There wasn't even that. It was just on HBO.
I just remember his high top, like...
Yeah. Eraserhead, as they called him in the...
No, never watched it.
God, that's such a good movie. Anyways, my point is, they're all supposed to be high school kids, right?
Okay, yeah.
So, Kid and Play, Chris... I can't remember the other guy's name. It might be both, but the Eraserhead. So that dude, that character's dad is played by Robin. I can't remember his last name either. Great comedian, right? Who soon passed away after the movie, actually. So played by his dad. His dad is played by this actor who's like in his late 30s, like 37, right? So it's like, all right, cool. I can get behind all this, right? The bad guys, the school bullies, are like 6 years younger than the actor who plays the dad of Kid from Kid and Play. They're like full bearded. You know what I mean? Just
funny.
Short of gray hair. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So when I watch movies, I'm looking for where would I fit in that? Have we really changed that much? Right? And like the nostalgia of it. So anyways, I've been on the 80s tip for a long time. I've seen a couple of commercials that like Doritos commercials, for example, where it's like funny. It kind of puts me in mind of the character. Like, I think it's the jester, right, for like brand archetypes or whatever they're called, right? So I've been trying to like get a little bit wiser in this whole marketing game and seeing like those old commercials that are very familiar and the brands that I know really well, and like, okay, that's what they were thinking when they made that commercial, whatever, developed that brand, right? And it's a little bit more, in my eyes, a little bit more obvious from like old brands, right? Like Nike is like a hero, Disney like the magician, right?
You're talking about the brand archetypes, the hero archetype, the brand magician archetype. What, Disney, you said?
Yeah. Disney is the magician, creating wonder, and how those narratives kind of, especially with Disney, and how they've had some struggles recently in keeping to that.
Well,
that's interesting.
I think there's some struggles because of the fact that like now as they are growing through acquisitions, right? You're growing through acquisitions, it's challenging some of their rules that they used to have. Like, so for example, Disney goes and buys Marvel, in the Marvel movie studio, whatever they call it. And with that, they get access to, what do you call that? Ryan Reynolds,
Deadpool,
Wolverine, swearing the whole time. That's a property of right, and that's a property, I think, of Disney.
So is the UFC.
I'm sure they probably share some of the rights with like Sony or something like that. But like either way, it's found on their streaming service now, and that's so far removed from the Disney rules where you can't swear, you can't, but they made those decisions in order for them to be more profitable, right? And so by acquisitions, it's challenged some of their original brand framework and narratives. And so
I really looked at it like that. Yeah, the acquisition part. I mean, it makes a good business sense.
It makes good business sense, but how does it help your brand? Right? And so I remember that was one of the reasons at first I think there was some question of whether or not they would have the Deadpool movie in their offering because, well, he swears all the time, And so, I mean, I think that's a very large size example, but even small businesses today too, what you choose as your brand archetype or personality that kind of leads your narrative is going to really either strengthen your influence in the marketplace, right? But then making poor decisions that is contrary to that brand narrative or the personality of your brand is going to just cause dissonance in the marketplace. So if you're trying to grow and you're trying to be influential within your industry, you have to have a very tight narrative. And now for bigger companies, that any misstep or PR misstep, right, will really challenge and it could hurt the brand. And you're talking even millions, right?
Right.
Like for example, the Bud Light can and their misstep with choosing the wrong, I guess, influencer to sponsor the can, right?
Right.
It turned a lot of their people away. Now, of course, they were huge, so they could recover.
Right.
And there's a lot
with the help too. They had like Kid Rock came back on board after he was shooting up the cans, and UFC.
And in so many ways, I'm sure you can make a case for that Bud Light can debacle actually end up helping them, but nonetheless, brands have to be very careful the choices that they make and how it might impact the narrative that they're trying to put out there based upon their brand archetype, right? And so how odd would it be if all of a sudden you see a Nike commercial that has a hero brand archetype, and then all of a sudden they're doing commercials similar to a Geico commercial,
right?
Which is odd. Like, what?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense. What happened there? Something happened.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to be, pleasantly amused by this. I should be inspired.
Inspired,
to
right?
Get up and do something.
Right. Well, but you look at like brands like Procter and Gamble, and of course they're like a house of brands, right? All their products that they have. But if you ever look at a lot of whenever you see a P&G commercial, It's like in the Olympics, and it's always talking about the proud mom, who's there early in the morning to get their son ready to get on the ice skating rink, and now his son's in the Olympics, right? So they know what their brand is too, and they got to push that brand narrative.
I wonder, I mean, outside of, say, of a big company, right? They're going to be used to that conversation. They know all about that whole brand narrative conversation, and they're so good at it. And the people there, like, they're experts, and they have the experts, and they're all of that. But, man, it doesn't take too long till you get further down. I guess you could just kind of say by revenue, you know what I mean? And the smaller you get, man, there's just none of that stuff's known. It seems to not really be out there and appreciated. Like, to put, like, a fine point on who you are as a company, as a business, and it seems like, what it reminds me of? When there's people writing music, and they're like, oh, music theory, pshaw, I don't need it. And they, like, toil over what perfect note and chord and turnaround in a piece of music, or how are we going to end it? But meanwhile, if you did know just a little bit, right? You don't have to be Mozart, but if you knew a little bit of music theory, it's not so much that it gives you, like, the innovative answer. It just gives you a way forward, right? Some place to, like, organize your thoughts. Yeah. Right. And so, like, these archetypes, that whole idea is just like, no, you don't have to, like, reinvent the wheel, like, somebody's already thought of this. Which one of these kind of general frameworks do you fit in? Yeah. And, like, let's start there. Yeah. Right. But
I like it when organizations kind of use that brand archetype to help establish their narratives, but they use it as like a sort of a plumb line, like a level set, so that they could base any decisions they make, or acquisitions in the Disney case, or where they're placing their products, and in what store are they placing their products in. You got to make decisions, and does that align with our positioning? Does that align with our archetype? Does that align with our mission, our vision, our value, purpose? We have several different plumb lines within that help to guide you through those rough waters, right? Yeah. Now, unfortunately, you have people called investors, and who we want to increase our investment, our return. Yeah. And so it's so easy to slide into, like, well, this is a great decision for money, maybe short term, but is it a great decision long term?
And then that makes sense, because then you can see them start, maybe, like, I mean, really all it comes to is that they're selling out. Yeah. Right. For lack of a better term. Yeah. That just seems kind of the vibe. It's like, oh, you sold out for the money. Yeah. Right.
Well, you look at some, like, a local example here. We have a ice cream brand called Graters. Yeah. And it's been around for 100 years. Like, started by the mom grater, and it's been a family operated establishment for decades, right? And they're known for their French pot made ice cream, and they could still claim that each of your pints of ice cream has been hand scooped by individuals, right? And they've done an excellent job just creating this very unique experience and enjoying their ice cream, because it's a generational thing. It's packed with a lot of history and nostalgia, right? You go into stores and you see, like, the black and white imagery of old-timey photos of that kind of present their origin stories, and Graders does a great job of that. And yet each and every year they're approached by Walmart to get their product into their stores, which, man, that makes sense. Just do it.
Pay me.
I don't have to think. I don't think twice. Just do it. Right. But you do have to think twice, because they've spent decades building this brand that everybody knows and loves in the Cincinnati area. Yeah. That the moment they say yes and they sign on that dotted line, well, now they got to meet the demands of Walmart, which means you can't do hand scooped ice cream anymore.
You'd have to have one in every city.
Yeah, you're going to have to have machines do all this, which means that's gonna, I would imagine, impact the taste of the ice cream. They're gonna have to. They can't do maybe hand dripped chocolate that they're known for. They're probably gonna have to do something a little different. So the process changes just to be able to meet the demands of a large corporation like Walmart. And now that provides dissonance in their brand. So they gain all this money, but then now they lost the brand equity, and they just become like a lot of these other type of ice cream offerings out there. Right. And Graders, I mean, they've kind of stayed true to who they are. Like, nope, we know who we are. We know our brand narratives. We know our mission. We know, they understand their personality and who they're reaching, and they're happy with that. They're content with that. Right.
There's something about that. I don't know. I'm thinking of the band Manowar. Mm-hmm. You know them?
I know of them.
Right. Mm-hmm. They're like the quintessential. I remember picking up like metal magazines back in the day when they're always somewhere in it. Right. Mm-hmm. Road Dogs are legends of the game, but their music, in my opinion, is a little bit cheesy. Right. They're like very European with it. They're from Pennsylvania, but anyways, they have been sticking to the script for like, I don't even know, 40 years at this point. They've been around forever. And they're thankfully, as older men, not wearing the loincloths as they did when they were like in their 20s, all greased up and tan and looking crazy. But the music hasn't really evolved. I mean, no shade on them, right? It's just that, like AC/DC, you know what I mean? It's like, or Cannibal Corpse or other bands where you're just like, no, this is meat and potatoes, man. Don't vary. I like it. I like the original recipe.
Yep.
And if you sell out, right? If these bands start writing, love ballads or some shit like Aerosmith in the late 90s, early 2000s with Armageddon, they started not writing their own songs. Yep. And then man, it's like, what happened? You guys, you sold out. You fell off. Yeah.
But as a result, you make sacrifices because, like, I don't know who they are. They're not relevant to me, right? Yeah. And that's the choice that you make. Right? You have to decide on that. Yeah. By the way, did you know Cannibal Corpse is going to be at Sonic Temple this year? Hannah and I are going to go to that.
Really?
Yeah, they're going to be their first day. I think Thursday, opening day. They're playing.
Dude, they're Road Dogs. You're never going to see a better metal show.
Yeah.
I've seen.
I'm planning. That first day is probably my favorite day of the festival this year.
What else is playing?
A lot. Sleep Token. I just can't even remember all of them. I just remember Cannibal Corpse because you always mention them. So
yeah. Anytime they come around, man, I'm gonna go. I think it was the first thing I took Shannon to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first Thursday Sonic Temple. They'll be there.
Yeah, they're so awesome, man. And I like how like it kind of reminds me. It's not quite Vegas yet, but like we all know what George, the lead singer, is gonna like his song banter,
Yeah.
Like we know the song setups just by, how he's leading into it. So like it's like a caricature of himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's funny, speaking of like archetype, it's funny how like they make horror music.
Yeah.
Right. It's like listening to a horror movie. Yeah. Right. So the lyrical content and all is really disturbing. Right.
Yep.
However, like a slasher movie, a la the Evil Dead or something like that, it's also the absurd. And so therefore it gets funny. Yep. You know what I mean? So like it's a very odd mixture of things where you're singing along to this really like grotesque horror scene, right? And it's super heavy music, but also the lead singer of the band who kind of looks intimidating. I mean, if you didn't know those guys, I mean, they're older now, but like you look like, geez, I don't want to mess with these guys. But then they're like cracking jokes and just kind of being goofy, right? Like the lead singer's known, his brand is he's known for like being a master of the claw machine. So he like wins at claw machines. And then, dude, and then he brings those things to like charities and he gives toys to kids.
That's hilarious.
What kind of, you know what I mean? So, anyway, but it all works is my point.
Yeah.
Right? That's such an odd combo for his, for the brand there.
I think it's important to like every company should understand their identity. And that you could speak toward. You could say the same thing for individuals. The moment you know who you are and know what your purpose in life is, and this is what I'm made for, and I'm not going to be like that person or my family member. I am who I am. Yeah. The more confident you can and bold you can walk through life, right? And the more you can enjoy life and know that you don't have to be like anything else, right? Well, the same thing can apply with businesses. The moment you understand what your personality is of the business, your mission, all that stuff I just mentioned earlier, your positioning, the more you could walk confidently and also say no to opportunities. Like, no. Like, think, case in point, look at our agency. Like, we are compassionate marketers. Right. That's what we are. You know? And I remember when my staff brought that up to me, like, I don't know now, 5 years ago, like, this is who we are. I fought them on that. I mean, I literally argued with them. Like, we are not compassionate marketers. I am not going to say that I'm a compassionate marketer. No freaking way. No fucking way I'm not. I don't give a shit. Right. That's not who I am. And they all, like, literally, they all ganged up on me in a meeting. It says, Ernie, like, we know who you are. Like, you are empathetic. You care. You're kind. And I literally just cried in front of them. Right. I'm like, I just don't want to admit that. Right. I didn't, dude.
That's so wild.
I didn't want to admit it.
What a wild opinion.
And they literally all said, it's okay. Yeah. But this is why we like working for you, is you actually care for us. Yeah. It's all right. And I'm like, but that's not like other agencies. It's not like, I don't want to be that. And they're like, and they're saying, it's fine. It's okay. But you are who you are. You're a compassionate marketer. You care. We all see it. Why don't you see it? And I'm like, okay, fine. And I literally, and then I just start crying, like, because I'm like, I guess you're right. I love people. I'll admit it. You know, I do love people. I want to empower people. I want to see people succeed in life. Once I finally agreed to that, then now you can see, like, everything we're talking about. It's about people. Yeah. The sectors that we focus in on. Right. We don't focus on like in a fashion industry. We focus on the public sector with nonprofits and government because it's helping people. Right. Yeah. We focus on healthcare because it's helping people. We focus on even in industrial just because what they do, yes, it might be more machinery, but it's helping people's lives. It's helping better people's lives. And we always kind of take that perspective on things. And man, once I finally just agreed, like, okay, fine. Yeah, fine. I love people. Okay. I get it, you know.
Reluctantly.
Yeah. Then I was able to like grow into us and into our own, and our brand started to excel. But I had to admit that. And I knew deep down, but I just didn't want to want to be so
vulnerable maybe with it.
Just, you know, because we live in a world where you got to be the tough guy, you know. You got to be this or the creative guy, the innovative guy. Like, I want to be those guys, the hero, the magician. But I'm the compassionate. like, oh fuck!
Come on, man! I don't want to hand out hugs.
That sucks.
This is dumb. I specialize in hugging puppies.
Right, but for Dimalanta, that's who I am, and I don't. And now I can say it's okay. Right. You know, I love you, Chris. That's okay. Right. Yeah. But before it's like, no, I'm not fucking saying that shit.
Not doing it.
I'm not doing it. But it's like, no, I do care. I care about you. I care about family. I care about my staff. I care about my clients. Yeah. You know, if they're and I don't know how many times I heard clients say, man, I didn't realize when we're paying you that I'd also get a therapist too. Right. It's just because I just care. It's
part of the brand.
It's part of who we are. And consequently, we tend to employ people who care. Yeah. You know, if you don't care, then you're not going to fit in this culture because you're going to just get sick of me. Right. You know, you really are.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get down. I find it interesting. Here's a little tidbit. Did you know that in financial advising, some of the most successful advisors, personality types
are narcissists?
No.
Really?
You would think.
Yeah, right? That's what I would think.
No, it is not. You would think. So narcissist, the leading
Ryan, the Porsche, and
right. So that, or you might think heavy analyzer, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, just genius with the numbers. No. It's empathizers. Yeah, empathizers are the best. Yeah, because with advising, right? Not to go off on that too hard, but it isn't like all the aggressive stockbroker stuff. That's like another thing. It's like no. Those are Formula One drivers. I don't I wasn't doing that as an advisor. No, gardener. Right? It's a gardener. That's a lot more like what we do around here, right? So I didn't know that. Now, I don't happen to be an empathizer, but
No, you're a dick, dude.
I totally found it interesting.
But see, that's the funny thing is with you though too, is that you're not like me at all. Right. But I do know that inside there is like you do have a care for people. You do care.
True.
You're not I don't really care. Just give me your money. Like you might say that, and that might be true to some extent.
Right. As a goof. Yeah.
As a goof, but like you actually do care, and because otherwise it wouldn't work.
Right.
This relation, like I'm obviously the soft guy. You're obviously the hard guy. And,
right.
And to a certain extent, that's one reason why we do work, because we do contrast in that way. But we do have that common thread. Like, no, dude, are you all right? Like, do you? I care enough, right?
Yeah. That's
just our brand, and now it's like I'm sticking to it. That's who I am, and it just so like once brands, or even for those listening, individuals out there, once you discover who you are and you finally admit it to yourself, there's the world is your playground. Like you have so many opportunities. Because I'm finally being who I am. I don't know, like even in my family life, all my brothers, went into engineering. Yeah. And I tried, and I failed. Like, but I remember how disappointed my dad was when I told him I'm just not an engineer. I need to go into ministry, and so I went into ministry, and I became a marketing pastor and all that stuff. But it was that finally just saying, I got to admit who I am. Yeah. And once I admitted who I am, then I was able to flourish. And how many people go through that in life?
In so many different ways too, man. Yeah. There's so many different. There was a kid, I don't know how old he is now, but he had just graduated college, right? And he had like a business or econ degree, something like that. Something very appropriate to be a financial advisor. Now, I was in my late 30s or mid 30s anyways, and I had kids and the whole thing, right? So I'm kind of like, I got to do what I got to do. But he didn't have all that, right? And so we share the same frustrations, and business is hard, and it's not for the faint of heart, and all these kinds of things. And I remember looking at him, I was like, bro, you don't have to do this. Yeah. And whatever his pressures were, I would assume it was from his family. I don't know. I'm just assuming. But let's just assume that his parents were, hey, you got to have a steady job and all these kinds of things and whatever. But I remember looking, I'm like, I meant it seriously, like, hey, bro, you don't have to do this. You can do anything you want. You do know that, right? This is your life, man, And it was very much one of those moments, but I let it pass, like, because what the fuck am I going to do for him? I could do me. But, bro, to this day, like, friends on Instagram, something like that, just to see every now and again, hey, man, hope all is well, right? He's like been to like Nepal. He's like helping to build huts and like whatever. He's out there, grew his hair out, you know what I mean? And maybe one day, right, when he has still got that degree, I mean, right? But now you bring something else, to that career or another career. But the point is, you're not just green out, out of school. And you've got a brand because you've got experience. You've been through it. Yeah. And the world has helped to kind of usually painfully, slap the rock, right? Help mold the sculpture that is your character. And it's a lot of pain and suffering that helped to kind of, create this thing, who you are. I
started laughing. Do you slap the rock in order to mold who you are?
No longer. Dude, at this point, I'm just polishing, bro. Now I'm a lot more like yourself, right? I feel like Popeye, right? I is what I is. I know not everybody's going to like the brand. I don't really give a shit now, right? What difference does it make? Right? But yeah, especially for younger folks and then younger businesses, it just seems absolutely universal. Like, I guarantee, back to that Marley quote, you can't please all the people all the time. Accept that, and you'll be better for it, because you're not going to be kind of dragging it around. Like, I don't know, man, living up to people's expectations maybe, or even having a care for what those expectations are. Like, I don't.
I used to say a lot, when people ask what I do or what's your passion in life, I used to respond by saying, like, I help people discover their identity. I help businesses discover their identity, because I truly believe that when you understand who you are, like, and everything we mentioned earlier, the brand archetypes, etc.
Yeah.
Once you understand who you are, it just creates this momentum and this drive that accelerates your company, and even on an individual basis. Like, one of the things I really enjoy, if anybody had ever asked, hey, would you mind speaking to our youth and apply marketing principles, branding principles to our youth to inspire them and empower them, I would always go, at the end of the day, what is branding all about? It's about identity. Right. And each and every one of you youth have your own identity. And part of the joy and adventure of life is trying to discover what that is for you. Yeah. Right. And a lot of the problems that we have today is all identity problems, right? Not to go into that so much, but the issue is that who's helping the young people discover their identity?
Yeah, clear the debris of your parents' expectations off of you.
Yeah,
right?
and just
discover who
love who you are. You were created, especially just like you. No one else has your DNA. Right. It's how unique is that, and how many billions of people are there roaming this world, and that there's only one person made just like you. Right. And so your goal in your life, and I tell Lily this, I don't care what you become in life. Like, I don't care what path or career you choose in life. What I care about is you find who you are. Yeah. So the moment you find who you are, you're gonna enjoy life so much better. You may not make as much money as other people, but that's not the whole purpose of life. Right. Now, I do feel that once you do find who your identity is, you're going to be able to sustain yourself, right, enough, and even financially, but more importantly, with hope and purpose and joy and love and all that stuff. And so I always tell her, as much as I joke around and say, hey, you know what? You should become an Air Force pilot. Right. She's like, enough, Dad. Right. For some reason, I've always wanted to be an Air Force pilot. Okay. But she knows I'm joking, because at the end of the day, I don't care what you are. Right. Just I want you to just be you, Just be you. Yeah. Yeah. As much of like a concentrated, well-established, clearly defined version of you. Yeah. Right. But it takes a long time. Like I like to say to the young folks that sometimes it takes till your 30s to really discover tons of mistakes. Yep. Those exes that you just don't even know. Like, glad there wasn't a baby off of that one. Like, right. All kinds of those moments where I look back every now and again, like once a week, on something in my past that sometimes it's real cringy. Like, why did I have those moments all the time? Like, why did I do that? Oh, that was so cringy. God, or just zigs when I should have zagged. You're like, ooh, could have got me in trouble there. Thank God, right? Yep. So just those moments, and I'm like, well, that all adds up to to this masterpiece right here. This, unable to get in my pickup truck on one knob. Dude, I have to get in your truck. I gotta grab the handle. Dude, if it wasn't for the handle, I gotta pull myself up. Running boards, that's what they're called. Yeah. So that's where we started off. Yeah. That's, I guess, we're about to end it. But running boards. That's why I don't know if I'm gonna be all fancy like your old lady with the whole moving when you open the door and stuff. Automated running boards. I don't know what they call it. Come on, bro. Dude, that's when you have an estate. But that's identity. Identity. Yep. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to for me, of what we do every day. Yeah. Is helping people find their identity, helping businesses live their identity. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And letting them know that there's established archetypes. Yeah. That's a game changer, man. Saves you a lot of. We should put a link or something like that in the description, just so people can see what we're talking about. But yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's good, man. All right, I think we'll leave it there. Oh, one really quick story. So, you know how we onboarded that church client? Yeah. It's funny because I thought about this when you mentioned the word kid, and I'm like, oh, that's hilarious, because this whole time one of the stakeholders was at the meeting, and he kept saying like, I want to help the kids. I want the kids to, and the whole time I'm thinking like, man, he really likes the young kids. Right. And then it wasn't until that evening when I'm just kind of I finally got home. I'm eating dinner, and I'm like, wait a second. The guy's like 75 years old. Like, kids can really mean anything.
Everybody's on the menu. Yeah. Anybody younger, you're an old man.
Yeah, you can be 60 and you're like a kid. Like, I'm like, oh, I probably should have had to ask him to clarify.
Right.
When you say kids, what are you talking about? Like,
right.
But because I imagine what he's thinking is really like the 20s to 30s, the kids, which that makes perfect sense if you're 70, almost 75 years old, right? Anyways,
that's fine.
Yeah. I realized later, I'm like, I should have asked for clarification on that.
Whoops. Yeah, man.
But anyways, so yeah, it was good.
All right, good one. With that, we'll get out of here from the iconic era of advertising to the digital age. I'm Chris.
And I'm Ernie.
Keep it legendary.